Cousin. That's something you might hear if you're around black folks who run into their cousins out in public. And they don't even have to be blood related. It could be the child of my mother's long-term friend, my close friend's cousin, or someone from the same hometown as me. It's just our way of letting the world know that this person is seen, is known, is special, and is one of mine. Do not mess with my cousin. And should they need something in that moment, here I am. On the other hand, if you run into that cousin who brings shame on the family, you might hide behind a clothing rack. I used to think this loud-mouthed expression was a black Southern thing until I went to Harlem, Detroit, and Oakland and heard it there too, which makes sense. The Great Migration carried millions of black folk from the South to the North and out West, carrying their Southern ways with them. And then I realized that our Southern ways ain't nothing but West African ways, which makes sense given the slave trade. Why then do we see ourselves as so different from one another? I'll tell you. The insistence that mainstream American culture is the right way or the only way inherently devalues other cultures' right to not only exist, but thrive. In order to create a society of workers, taxpayers, and landowners here in the U.S., before it was called that, those indigenous to the land had to be civilized. Their way of life didn't align with that of progress, so the goal was to reorganize it to the point that they'd be disgusted with their old ways. After convincing the government that education was cheaper and more effective than war, boarding schools became increasingly popular. The first priority was teaching the students English. The second was renaming them. The third was individualism. See, settlers and colonialists, they measure their worth by how much they accumulate. Indigenous nations, however, measured theirs by how much they shared. And the new way of life being pushed here called for more focus on me than we, and those who would not or could not conform faced dire consequences. At this point, we colonize ourselves. We tell our children they're wrong when they aren't using mainstream American English. We draw red lines through their dialect, which has been passed down from their ancestors. And we warn one another to give our newborns simple names instead of uncommon multisyllabic names like Trelawney. And when we do have names that require assistance in pronunciation, we offer nicknames before they even finish trying to enunciate. By all means, avoid being a stereotype.